So once again, folks, this call is being recorded and we place our recordings on our YouTube channel. If you're not comfortable with it, you may want to drop off now. Thank you for joining the Azure Power Lunch. And Kumar, floor is yours. Please take it away.
Thanks, Naveed. Good morning, good afternoon. My name is Kumar Raju. I'm a cloud solutions architect in Microsoft. Today, I would like to spend some time to talk about all the new features introduced in the last quarter in Azure Virtual Desktop. So here is the agenda for our session. So we continue to innovate and implement a lot of features, but these are some of the features that I wanted to highlight in 30 minutes. So we have recently released a single sign-on feature that has been highly sought out feature from our customers. Then we also released a support for availability zones and some monitoring stuff. And then for each of the features, I will also give you a hands-on demo. Okay, so before I jump in, I just wanted to give a quick overview. I'll just take a few minutes. So Azure Virtual Desktop is obviously a cloud-native VDA solution from Microsoft. It allows you to securely access Windows 10, Windows 11, or Windows servers from bring your own device. So no concept of VPN. It's a platform as a service offering from Microsoft. Customers can access these cloud VDIs from their favorite clients, whether it's a Windows, Mac, or Android clients. The beauty of this feature is available in pretty much wherever the Azure is in all the worldwide regions. It gives you full controls. We have visibility into what's being provisioned, controlled, gives you cost optimization features. But most importantly, this VDI solution is fully backed by Azure's security ecosystem. So it comes with all the security features like defender cloud, multi-factor authentication, all the governance policies and everything. But most importantly, we provide a lot of cost optimization features for multi-session desktops. These like typical Windows RDS services. Multiple sessions can log into the same Windows 10/11 desktop, which gives a huge cost savings to our customers. But we provide personal desktops as well as pool desktops. So where do we use these cloud VDA solutions? So these are some of the use cases that we have come across. One is obviously companies continue to go through a lot of mergers and acquisitions. That's where it's a perfect use case for VDA solutions, or you'll be onboarding some frontline workers or contractors, and you're also looking for bring your own device. If you're onboarding some of your employees or contractors, you don't need to ship a new laptop to them. Instead, you can provision a certified VDI solution, which is in line with all your compliance policies. And those external vendors can directly connect to this VDI. It's as simple as that. And there's also some use cases where customers have a need to run some specialized compute workloads like graphics or GPUs or CAD CAM workloads. Instead of giving each employee or maintaining a lab with high compute, you will have an option to use some of these high performance VM SKUs in Azure, and you could run the VDI graphics. So these are some of the use cases that I would like to highlight where customers use our cloud native VDI solutions. But most importantly, it's the elasticity is what makes the customers happy, right? You can spin up the compute as needed and you can scale back so that at any given time, you are only paying for whatever you consume from your Azure subscription. So with that brief intro, I will jump into the agenda. So we have recently released a single sign-on support for Azure Virtual Desktop. Up until now, customers have to go through dual logins. One is with Microsoft, and once the user is authenticated to Azure Active Directory, when they access the Azure Virtual Desktop, they're asked to log in again. So a lot of customers didn't like this experience, and since then our development has worked hard and released this a single sign-on feature just last month. It is still a public preview feature, but I worked with some customers and they really liked this feature. This way, you do not need to go through multiple logins. So the way it works is, for example, an end user typically subscribe to their workspaces. If you see, I'm a user, I logged into Microsoft, right? So it shows my Microsoft login. And all I have to do is just click on my Azure Virtual Desktop. So seamless experience. You don't need to go through, you are not asked to log in again. You are right in your desktop VDI. And from here, you can just do that, right? Obviously, this comes with some prerequisites, which obviously we all have to, go through that. The thing is, you will have to use a Windows 10/11 latest version of Marketplace images. Then you will have to use something like Kerberos token. So that is one of the prerequisites. So we have provided some detailed documentation where you need to run this script, which allows you to create a Kerberos token in your domain controller. So we support a SSO both for Azure AD logins, which is cloud-only logins, but most of the customers come with hybrid logins, which is they have a domain controller in their data center and they sync the identities to Azure AD, but they still prefer single sign-on experience. So this is what we provide today. It's a full feature, supports both Azure AD logins as well as hybrid AD logins. This is a most highly sought out feature from customers, and we are excited to really release this feature to our customers. So I encourage you to give it a try. This will really give a much seamless experience to our customers. And we have some detailed documentation that our team has put together. You're welcome to kind of check this out. So there are some prerequisites, which is you'll have to use the latest Windows 11 or Windows 10 with the latest Windows updates. And then there are some things like you have to run some PowerShell script, which allows you to run this. But most importantly, on your host pool, which is you will have to set this property called when you connect to this AVD session host, you have an option. RDP will attempt to use Azure AD authentication to sign in. So by default, that's disabled because we do not know if you want to use a single sign-on or not. But maybe in the future, it will be enabled by default, but you need to make sure this option is enabled. Once you have that, everything else is same. The customers will get much seamless experience. I mean, as you have noticed here, I just log into my session desktop and I'm good to go. So you'll only log in once with Microsoft and you are good to go. Okay, so that's one feature I wanted to talk about single sign-on experience. And obviously, you might find it a lot of configuration steps, but it's not like that. You just have to be comfortable with the process, especially the administrators, the domain controllers and everything. Once you have this configured, it's a one-time process. You are good to go. And we have clearly documented this. So right now we support this. We support this feature for Windows desktop clients, which is the native desktop client, as well as the web client. Down the line, we may support for other supported clients too, like Mac OS or Android. I don't know when that will be available, but today you can use the SSO functionality with the native desktop client. Moving on. So up until now, there was no option to availability zones are there in Azure for a while. Each Azure region consists of at least 3 availability zones, right? But there was no such option when you are provisioning Azure Virtual Desktop, right? So customers have asked for it. I want the flexibility to deploy or spread my VDIs across the availability zones. So if one zone has an outage, then they are still covered in terms of high availability, right? So we have recently released this feature. That way, when you are provisioning Azure Virtual Desktop host pools, you will have an option to select multiple zones or pretty much all the zones. So if you see in my screenshots, I'm provisioning a host pool. And when I'm provisioning these VDIs, I have an option to select availability zones instead of no redundancy. And this will give me an option to select multiple zones. So if you see, for example, here, I have a host pool. Uh, of course, this is just a friendly name. We just come here, try to add a few more VDIs, and that will give you an option to, let me quickly show you, that will give you an option to provision your VDIs in multiple availability zones. This is again one of the highly asked features from our customers. So up until now, the default option was no redundancy. Then you will have to script it out, use the ARM templates. But now we fully integrated this into the Azure portal. So here you will see I selected one of the regions and I selected these availability zones. And now I have an option to select these zones. So I can deploy my VDIs in different zones, or I can just select maybe one or two, whatever it is. This is again an optional feature, but if customers wants to spread across their deployments, their VDIs in different zones, so this gives you a high availability feature. Now this feature already exists for if you are using regular Azure Compute, but we recently introduced this with portal integration for Azure Virtual Desktop. So I just wanted to clarify that availability zones are not new in Azure, but this feature was kind of taken into the Azure Virtual Desktop. So if you see, for example, I have provisioned multiple virtual machines here. If you see, I have these three VMs. So this one was provisioned in zone 1. Similarly, if I go to one of the other VMs, it's in the zone 2, like that. So this way, if there is an outage in one of the availability zones, you are still safe. You are still connected to the Azure Virtual Desktop. Moving on to the next feature. Yeah, so RDP short path for public networks. So we support RDP short path for public networks as well as managed networks. But I will only be talking about public networks, because for managed networks or private networks, the prerequisite is a site-to-site VPN or express route. But some customers may or may not have it, especially when they are onboarding their Azure VDA solutions, right? At the same time, the customer still wanted a low latency and better end user experience, right? Because the customers might be connecting from their home network. Especially this was very popular in the pandemic time. They may not be connecting from their corporate networks. So with the RDP, the sessions are supposed to last longer, but we have seen customers reporting that my RDP client it's frequently get disconnected. It could be several reasons. One is you might be connecting on a coming from a poor network where you don't have a good bandwidth and all those things, right? So that's when we have introduced public networks, right? But the problem is this is all up until now it's a TCP based. With RDP Shutter works on the UDP flow, right? And this has to be done using a certified client, whether it's a Windows desktop client, the session host. Now, the questions people may ask is, what's wrong, right? Why do we have to do this? And we have seen the remote workers or frontline workers or contractors, they might be coming from offshore locations, but their host pools are based in, let's say, if your corporate office is in one of the Americas regions or EMEA regions, but your end users are elsewhere, right? So they might, they might not have a good bandwidth first. The second thing is they expect low latency. This short path works great if you are in a high latency networks, right? It still gives you a session stickiness and lets you connect on these networks. Now, how we kind of solve this is something that we have written an excellent article from our product management. So I encourage you guys to take a look at it instead of me repeating the blog. So we all know TCP needs a handshake, and if there's a package drops, it needs to be resent. So that's one thing that we can address it by using a UDP flow. So these are all the networking basics that we most of us are familiar with it, but how we kind of results a great solution that we put together using some of these technologies like stun, UPnP, and ICE. So I would encourage you guys to take a look at it. This blog was written by one of our product managers, so I highly encourage you to take a look at it. Okay, so with this, now you will really get very low latency, and there isn't much configuration you have to do, unlike managed networks. So all you have to do is, this can be configured using your GPO in your domain controller, or of course, that's the right thing to do for the scalability purposes if you are deploying these VMs at scale. But for if you want to do it in one or two machines, obviously you can log into the local GPO editor, and that's where you need to set this up. So if you see, this is in my local GPO. I select RDP transport protocols, and I need to enable this. You need to manually enable this. That's the only thing you have to do. Configure this in the GPOs ideally for scalability reasons, or for testing purposes, you can just try it out in your local GPO editor. So the way it works is, let me demonstrate this to you. So if you see, I'm connecting to one of my desktops, which is also SS enabled. So if you see this, it says your connection quality is good and UDP is enabled. So this is the one way you can verify. Once you set up this RDP short paths, this is connected on the UDP network. Then if you see this, it's of course, your mileage may vary, but in my case, since I'm connecting on a Mac, so I had to spin up a VM in Azure. So my latency shows very low, but that's not the real one. But the way you can validate this is you click on, once you're connected to the desktop, you click on this Wi-Fi, and then it shows you your UDP is enabled. And when you click on see details, this shows the transfer protocols is UDP, and then shows the round trip time is 1 milliseconds, which is not the ideal one, but this is something that you can validate in your environment as well. So that's how we can validate with RDP short path. This really, I had an opportunity to work with a few customers in implementing this feature. And now most of them, when they use this feature, RDP short path for public networks, or for that matter, managed networks too, they do not see that many RDP disconnects, and their experience continues to get better based on the feedback from the customers. So we kind of recently released this feature in the last month or so. So I thought I would wanted to kind of share with you. There isn't much we have to do in terms of configuration. You just have to go through GPU editor and you just make this change. Okay, so moving on, we have also introduced some enhancements to our monitoring. It is still a preview feature. So until now, what we have to do is, if you have a bunch of host pools and it's deployed in different regions or different resource groups, then you have to manually go to each host pool to review the matrix. So that doesn't give you a good a single pane of glass when you are looking for a dashboard of the health of your AVD environment in terms of the connection latency or disconnects, the CPU usage, and all those things. Now we are coming up with an enhancement. It is still not out there. It's still in preview, where you can actually filter the host pools or by the resource group, or you can pick and choose by the OU. So the way it's going to look like is, so this is the preview version of the AVD monitoring insights. So if you just come here, then if you click on this resource groups, so you can select the resource groups where your host pools are deployed. So for example, let me pick one of the resource group where my host pools are deployed. Then I have a bunch of these host pools running, right? So by default, all the host pools are selected. So this gives me a good experience in terms of gives me a single pane of glass across all the host pools. It tells me how many host pools I have, the sessions running. Of course, my environment is not a production environment, so you don't see a whole lot of matrix. But typically, this gives customers a single pane of glass in terms of the utilization, the number of users connected to this. Then you can further drill down if necessary. But this is a one-stop shop for monitoring. And from this, you can just create a dashboard or you can pin it. And then your monitoring team can continue to revise this. So if you see, it tells me what's my monthly active users are, daily active users are, what's my connection disconnects or reconnects, and all those things are available just in one page. Right, so this is the one enhancement that we recently worked on. It may be out sometime. I can't comment on the GA date, but maybe it will be available later part of next year, early next year. So that's one, and from here you can just filter by, let's say, all the resource groups, or only one resource group that I'm interested in, and then I can select all the host pools, or I can only pick and choose whatever I'm interested in. So this is again a graphical enhancement that we are working on to simplify the administrative tasks for our customers who are deploying this Azure Virtual Desktop at scale. So there's a lot of enhancements coming up, and I would also encourage you guys to just search for what's new in Azure Virtual Desktop, right? We continue to update this page on a regular basis. So you will see on a month-by-month basis how many features we are releasing. So just last month, we released a single sign-on. There are a lot of features that we have introduced, but I only covered the things that are most frequently asked by our customers, right? So, this page is updated like once a week or every time we release a new feature. So what's new in Virtual Desktop is what gives you in terms of bug fixes and enhancements and everything. So these are some of the new features that I wanted to discuss today. That's pretty much it from my side. Any questions? I'm happy to take them.
Thank you, Kumar. No, that's very useful, very interesting. So, any questions?
Yeah, one other thing I have noticed is I just want to summarize that um, the VDIs are not really a replacement of the jump servers. Sometimes I have seen customers asking for it. You can still use it as a jump server, but that's not an economical solution because you can use Azure Bastion, for example, or you can just use a jump box server and then use it. But the VDIs are mainly designed for some of these use cases where you go through, acquisition mergers, or maybe you wanted to work on some loaner laptops and to run some specialized compute. And in Microsoft itself, we use AVD a lot to onboard new hires because on day one, you may or may not have a laptop, but you still need to connect to submit your formalities like HR, payroll and whatnot, right? So Microsoft, what do you call it? Dog your own food, right? So eat your own dog food. So we use this a lot, and it's a highly scalable solution, and it continues to get better. So I wanted to share some of the enhancements that continues to be released month over month.
Uh, Kumar, a question. On the Insight side,
Yes.
is it
Yeah.
integrated with Azure Monitor or
Yeah. So basically, from the Azure Virtual Desktop screen, you have something like Insights. So internally, it uses the Azure Monitor only. The thing with Azure Monitor is the Azure Monitor gives you the virtual machines, right? But when it comes to the AVD, it's more than that. They wanted to
okay?
see that Just not only the disk utilization and everything, but they want to see the number of clients coming in, or the connection performances itself, right? Or the diagnostics. So this gives you a single pane of glass. But yeah, behind the scenes, it uses the Azure Monitor. But here we kind of consolidated the things that makes more sense from the AVD perspective.
And
So
is there a
when
cost for it?
so yeah, internally it uses log analytics workspace. So the
Mm-hmm.
prerequisite for this is you need to have log analytics. So the way you kind of onboard this is, for example, let me pick one of my host tools,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I wanted monitoring for my workspaces or for my, so if you just come here, you pick this, oh, sorry, you're going to select this diagnostic settings. So here you can just select what's your log analytics workspace is. So add diagnostic settings, and
Oh,
then here you
okay.
can just give a name, and then it will ask you to, you can send it to log analytics or archive it to storage account or event hub or something. So here I'm going to select this, and then I give my subscription, and this is my log analytics workspace.
That
So
makes
yeah,
sense. That makes
yeah.
sense. So,
So the
I
the
mean,
data
they
is ingested
can.
into the log analytics. Yes.
Got it. Got it. No, thank you. Good to know.
So yeah,
So,
so there is some cost associated to this if you use log analytics workspace. Yes.
makes sense. No, that don't make sense. Any questions, folks? Any other questions?
Great.
No, thank you. Thank you very much. And I will give everybody their 2 minutes back. Thank you, Kumar, for this useful session. And I'm gonna stop the recording now.